Today we're looking at a brand new microphone from one of the biggest names in gaming and streaming. It's the Razer Seiren V3 Chroma. It's not the only Razer microphone being released today, actually. The Razer Seiren V3 Mini is also being released. Hopefully we'll be able to get our hands on that soon, but for now we're going to focus on the Chroma. In the box you get the Razer Seiren V3 Chroma with attached mount, a base for the microphone, a 6-foot braided USB-C to USB-A cable. I really love the quality of Razer's cables, and the documentation. So you can see when you look at the microphone, it's a really beautiful design, but it's very light materials. On the front, you have a single knob that can actually control the microphone gain and the headphone volume, but it does it a special way, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. On the top, you've got a capacitive mute button, but the mute's not the only thing it does. We'll talk about that in a bit. And on the back, you've got the USB-C port and the 3.5mm headphone jack for zero latency monitoring. But this is really one of those show don't tell mics, so we really need to get it set up so you guys can have a look and a listen. Let's do it. And through the magic of claps, the Razer Seiren V3 Chroma is here with us now. So you can see what I mean by show don't tell. This is an absolutely beautiful microphone. You can see how it looks extra cool coming through the grill like this. When you stare right into it though, it becomes a little bit trippy, a little bit mesmerizing. All right, anyways, so the microphone works perfectly well as a plug-and-play device. You can just put it right into the computer and be running it on OBS, Discord, whatever you want in no time. But once you connect this thing to Razer software, the controls are virtually limitless. And that brings us to Razer's Synapse software, which covers all things Razer. So if I click on the Razer Seiren V3 Chroma, it actually brings us into this menu here. And this isn't all the controls you have, but this is the first set of controls that you have. So first thing we got here is what the front dial is doing. So just via a drop-down, you can choose whether or not you're doing headphone volume or microphone volume. That is not the only way you can do that though. We're going to talk more about that in a second. And then you've got your mute button, and this is where all this extra functionality comes in. So it's defaulted that if you hit the button one time, and it's also defaulted that if you hold the button down for 3 seconds, you're going to switch between your headphone volume and your microphone gain on the knob. So now we're controlling the headphone volume, and then as I turn that up and down, you can see it changing underneath my levels there. Then you have these two other ones here, so you've got your cycle chroma effect under your double tap, but you can change that to any of these. So you can cycle chroma effect, toggle chroma effect on and off, toggle advanced gain on and off, again, another thing we'll get into in a minute, or you could set up any of these presets. So right now it's defaulted to cycle chroma effect for the double tap and to turn it on and off for the triple tap. So if I triple tapped it, turns off, turns back on, and then if I double, it starts to go through different options. This is the audio visualizer, and we'll go through more of these. And that's another cool thing I got to show you when you're actually adjusting the volume or the gain on this. As you turn it up and down, you can see the color changed. And as I turn it down, it goes to red. As I turn it up, it goes to green. And that's how you actually tell the levels on this thing. What I'd rather have seen was actually like the up and down, because I don't know if I'm seeing green, is it all the way up? Is it most of the way up? I'm not entirely sure because I'm not checking in shades. So down here, you've got the sampling rate. You've got the 44.1 kilohertz, the 48 kilohertz, and a 96 kilohertz sampling rate. I'm on the 96 right now. It's important to know once you use these, it's actually going to change settings in your computer. So if, for example, you have this microphone set up in OBS, it's probably going to get wiped out as a source, so you have to re-add it. And then you have a high pass filter that you can toggle on and off. And down here, you've got your advanced gain settings. So there's two pretty cool things here. So the first one, you have your digital gain limiter. And all that's doing is a bit of compression to keep you from peaking. So when you're actually speaking into this, when you peak, it'll flash red to let you know. I don't know why red is peaking and red is also mute. We got to sort something out for that. But if, for example, I was to turn it off right now if I talk really loud, you can see it. It's going red, I'm peaking. And then you have the auto gain control. So if I turn that one on instead, if I talk really loud, it should be making adjustments. I don't know if it's something you're going to visually see here, but it looks like it's gone down just a little bit in terms of what the levels are saying, just not what the gain is saying. And then if I talk a little bit quieter, is it going to take care of me and then start to go up? Again, it's not showing anything physically here, but I think it's just automatically riding the gain because again, my levels are going into the yellow, which they weren't when I started talking. I personally don't like the idea of the auto gain control unless the changes in your voice is going to be really subtle. Because if you go from being, quiet, like, oh, I'm playing a game. Oh, yeah, no, thanks for the sub, blah, blah, blah. Oh my God, that is going to blow people's brains off because it's going to be at that higher level. And then all of a sudden you're going to scream into that higher level. It's not going to be able to dip it back down that fast. So I'd rather be prepared for the worst, use the limiter to keep those tops down. And if I'm a little quiet, I can bring them up in post. Now, if we move on to the stream mixer, we've seen this before. We talked about this in my review of the Razer Seiren V2 Pro. It doesn't seem to have changed at all. It's the same kind of setup setup where all of your different sources have horizontal faders. It's got pretty much the exact same functionality as something like the Elgato Wavelink. You can see here you have different levels for your stream mix and for your headphones, so you can have something a little bit louder in your headphones than going out to the stream, or vice versa. You can link it or not link it here. So for example, if I have this going out to my stream a little bit louder and I link them, now when I change them, you can see it does this. So it'll always maintain this ratio. To add a new input, you just do so here, and you click and you have all your different options. So you have system, music, game, voice chat, browser, sound effects. You can open up your app device options and then assign specific apps to these specific things. Or you can just take one of these sources right here and just make it a direct source. So once we've added multiple additional sources, they're all gonna do the same thing. They're gonna go to one specific stream mix. And if I wanna nitpick this program just a little bit, and I do, the horizontal faders are really counterintuitive. I really think they just wanted to set themselves apart from all of the other stream apps that all have the vertical faders, but the vertical faders are the vertical faders for a reason. It's good to be able to see all of your different sources and all the levels side by side so you can look at them, compare them, see if you need to lower one. It's harder to be able to see that when they're all over the place like this and when they're going across sideways. Also, a little bit harder to navigate them this way. So all the functionality's there and I'm very happy with that. The only problem I have is with the layout. I also wouldn't be too mad if you were able to assign macros to these things because let's face it, the Razer Stream Controller and Stream Mixer are not sitting at everybody's desks. A lot of people have a lot of different types of devices, and I would love to be able to assign a macro to it, so then I could use that macro to assign a button or a knob or something like that to one of the devices I have. Now, if we pop over to lighting, we're going to see a bunch of things, so we can just change the normal brightness of the microphone. So you can see it can go pretty dim, which still looks really pretty. So your peaking indicator, you can change what color you want for your peaking. I'd like to leave that one at red because that makes the most sense to me. Then you have your microphone volume adjustment indicator and your headphone volume adjustment indicator. You can turn those on and off, but you can't change what the colors are. I was kind of hoping to be able to change between the colors, to be honest, because then I'd know for sure which thing I was adjusting while I was doing it. You've got an option here to turn off the lighting when the display is turned off, which I think is probably a pretty good idea unless you want to keep the whole house up. You've got your mute effects, so you can select any color you want here, and then here is your effects where all the cool stuff is happening. So you have a number of different presets here, and I want to go through them and show you, but I need to show you up close. So we're going to mess around with the microphone here for a second. There, less me, more mic. Hello. And we're going to go through them all. So we've already seen the audio meter, so we'll move to breathing now. And you can choose multiple colors for this one. So right now it's going between my purple and gold, or the best I could get. But you can also make it between random colors, which is also very pretty. Then we've got the fire effect, and I really like this effect. Look at the crackles and stuff like that. And you can see it's shutting off and dimming and doing all sorts of things. And that's because it actually has a 10-zone RGB system here. For comparison, the HyperX Quadcast S only had 4 zones that you could change. But this also makes the animation so smooth and the transitions between each zone just beautiful. This one's spectrum cycling, so it's just slowly going to go through all the colors. Then you've got starlight, and you can do multiple colors here, but again, you can see it's just doing these beautiful little effects. Like, this is something I would want to be like ambient in my room when I wasn't using the microphone. Like, that's just really, really pretty. And you got static, so you're just picking a color because some people are lame like that. Then you've got the wave, which is the one we've been looking at the entire time. And again, with seeing it closer up, you can see everything that's actually happening in there. And you can change the directions over here. So I can actually make it go the other way, or I could make it go up and down. Oh, that's actually really cool. I like that version. And for most of these, you can see you also had an animation control. You can make it go medium or fast. It's currently on slow just because I like to really see it do its thing. And the last one we have here is the wheel. You can see it's just really quickly transitioning through all of your colors, but that is not all this thing can do. I want my microphone back now. If we go into the advanced effects, now you're going to get into some real stuff. So right now, Chroma Effect 1, there's nothing really there. I have to go into Chroma Studio to make this work. So this will actually show every Razer item you have. So I actually have a Razer cooling system, and then I have this as well. But then from here, you can select all of those 10 zones and then do whatever you want to them. So from there, I can select that one, and then I can select a color pattern. So you can see how it like drifts down a little bit into the zone there. And you can see how you can change the gradients and things like that. You can see that it's actually doing that. Now, if I start adding more properties, so now if I go here and I change something different, and I'm going to make the same thing, except I'm going to make it it like green. Maybe if I try red, maybe that'll look a little bit more. There you go. Now you can see, I don't know if you can see it on this side, but on my side, I can start to see that transition. And then you can just keep adding and adding and adding. You can sync all of that to your systems over here so it can all go at once. That stuff has no specific use to the viewer. This actually has like viewer effect, but it's cool that this is an option. And these aren't the only software solutions at your fingertips. Razer's streaming companion app can take the customizability of your microphone to a whole new level. And once you've signed into Twitch or Streamlabs, which is what's available to you, you then get this kind of dashboard so you can see all of the different alerts that you can get that can lead to some kind of a change in the microphone. So if I click on the alerts right now, you'll see add device. So if I go to add device right now, this microphone's not there because it hasn't been announced yet. But you can do this with all of these or a combination or all sorts of different stuff. And then whenever you get a follow, a subscriber, a cheer, chat message, host, raid, something cool can happen on there for you. And I think that's a really cool addition. Okay, so I want to take a second to do our usual microphone tests. So what I'm going to do the usual phrases, except I already did that yesterday. So there's going to be a different shirt on and we'll hear what the raw audio sounds like. The small pup, not a hole in the sock. The fish twisted and turned on the bent hook. Pressed the pants and saw a button on the vest. The swan dive was far short of perfect. The beauty of the view stunned the young boy. Okay, so we obviously don't have to come back after I've listened to this because I've already listened to it. I did it yesterday. So I was really impressed with the overall audio. There's a little bit of cleanup that can be done just to make my voice that much better in my own ears anyways. And there's a little bit of ambient audio, which is common for any condenser microphone. This actually does a pretty good job though with that high pass filter and getting the fans and stuff like that out. You get these kind of like little high hums. There's a little bit of a vibration that was going on next to my computer and you were kind of hearing that. You can hear outside stuff because there's no actual noise reduction for this. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to do some processing third-party style, so I actually ran this through processing via OBS using the NVIDIA noise removal and some other stuff, and I did some in post using DaVinci Resolve Studio, so let's listen to what those sound like. The small pup, not a hole in the sock. The fish twisted and turned on the bent hook. Pressed the pants and saw a button on the vest. The swan dive was far short of perfect. The beauty of the view stunned the young boy. The small pup, not a hole in the sock. The fish twisted and turned on the bent hook. Pressed the pants and saw a button on the vest. The swan dive was far short of perfect. The beauty of the view stunned the young boy. The small pup, not a hole in the sock. The fish twisted and turned on the bent hook. Pressed the pants and saw a button on the vest. The swan dive was far short of perfect. The beauty of the view stunned the young boy. Okay, so you can really hear how I added a little bit of presence, not too much because you didn't really need to make that big of a change to the microphone. I dipped out the mids, not so much because the mids were bad, but just to highlight the low and high frequencies that much more because I didn't want to raise them too much, otherwise it would be too crazy. And speaking of too crazy, the price of this microphone is too crazy. For everything you get, we talked about all the software, we talked about the beautiful RGB, beautiful design, the Razer name, it's $129.99 US. My son's over here eating while I'm just getting the last of this recording done, and I don't know if you heard it on the thing, but when I said the price, he kind of lost his mind. So that's not just on the low end for USB microphones that are the big names, that's on the low end for any USB microphones. It's not the absolute cheapest that I've done, but again, considering everything it can do, you've got all of this RGB, which is probably the most beautiful RGB that I've seen. You have a full streaming solution, you have a full stream mixing solution, you have a full stream lighting solution, plus all kinds of other customizability controls. That is a bananas price.
So that's actually a good investment.
It is. You heard it from here. So now it's time to get into the brand new review matrix. So let's talk about all of the different categories. So design, I'm gonna give this a 10. It's really sleek, it's really nice. Everything's where it needs to be and it's all super discreet. Even where the cables are is good for cable management. I can just run those directly back. It is as nice as I can ask for. So full marks for that one. Functionality, it can do everything that you want it to do. I think that they've relied too much on this button to do too many different things. So now trying to remember what each of those things does and then not holding it down too long for a factory reset, which you can do by the way. I'm just gonna knock it down a little bit. So we're gonna give that an 8 for functionality. Features, this thing is feature rich. It can do all sorts of stuff. You've got all of the RGB on here. You've got the full streaming solution. I'm gonna give features a 9. Quality, out of the box, it sounds really good. You didn't need to do any kind of processing to it, unless you're just a bit of a perfectionist in terms of making your voice as good as you'd like it to be. But the end-to-end experience is really good with this. I just have a few nitpicky things with the software, so I'm gonna give quality a 9. And in terms of value, we've talked about the price. It's hard to get a microphone of this brand type that cheap. and it does a ton for the price, so I'm gonna give it a 9 for value as well. So that's a 45 out of 50, so this is a 90% on this microphone. But let me know what you think. Do you agree with that? Do you disagree? Let me know down in the comments. I'd love to hear your opinions. And while you're down there, hit the like and subscribe, ring the bell so you get the notifications when I got new videos coming out. Make sure to follow me on my socials and join the Discord. You can have these conversations with me and my community. It's a growing community. We'd love to have you. But since we're talking about Razer, why don't you check out one of these Razer videos that I did up here? Go down here and you can subscribe to a couple of my channels. And until next time, my friends, magic clap. Let's get to work.